Hey everyone, today we are making a basic dinner roll dough and transforming it into 3 different kinds of rolls. They are great to have on hand all year, but especially during the holidays. They freeze beautifully so you can always have fresh rolls on hand. We will be making classic dinner rolls with sea salt, cheesy crescent rolls, and herb pull-apart rolls. We've got a lot to cover, so let's go get started. Okay, so let's start out with our basic dinner roll dough. So I have a half a cup of milk and a half a cup of water heated to about 110 degrees. You really want to use a thermometer here because if it's too hot, it will kill the yeast. If it's too cold, it won't activate the yeast. So I'm adding that to the bowl of my stand mixer along with a packet of active dry yeast, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and 1 cup of flour. And we just want to mix that together. It's absolutely fine if there are still lumps. We just want to let that rest for about 10 to 15 minutes or until lots of bubbles form on the surface. Okay, so once the yeast has had some time to sit and bloom, we are going to add in 6 tablespoons of butter that is softened to room temperature, and I just cut it up into cubes to make it easier to incorporate, as well as 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 more cups of flour. And then we just want to use the dough hook on the mixer here and mix it on medium speed for about 2 to 3 minutes or until it's nice and smooth and everything's incorporated. Now I have 2 eggs that I lightly whisked, and I'm going to add those into the dough. And we're just going to, again, mix this and scrape the bottom of the bowl as needed. And then we're going to add in an additional 1 1/4 cups of flour and whatever mix-ins we may be using in the remaining recipe. This one, for the basic roll, we don't need to mix anything in. So again, we just want to mix this for about 3 to 4 minutes or until the dough forms a loose ball, as you can see here. And then I'm going to place the dough in a greased bowl, and you just want to roll it around the bowl so that all of the dough gets coated in that oil. And see, I'm showing you here, it will be soft and slightly sticky, but it shouldn't leave any residue on your fingers. If it does, you need a little bit more flour. So then we are going to cover that for about 2 hours or until it is doubled in size. And now we will move on to our basic sea salt rolls. So I have my dough and I'm dividing that in half, and then you just want to pat each one out into a rectangle that's about 1/4 inch thick, and then I'm going to cut each of these into 12 rectangles, and then we're just going to roll them into balls. Then I'm going to place those on a parchment-lined baking sheet. And we are going to again cover them in plastic wrap and let them rise for an additional 30 to 45 minutes or until they're nice and puffy. And then we want to brush some more melted butter on top, about 2 tablespoons worth. And then I'm just taking kitchen shears and cutting a little X into the top of each one and sprinkling them with flaky sea salt. So then I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees, and we are going to bake these for about 25 minutes, rotating the sheet pans halfway through. And then we just want to brush them with another 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And then we want to let them cool on a wire rack. And as you can see, they are so light and flaky. They are great on their own, but cut them open with a little bit more butter. And they really go beautifully with whatever dinner you're serving. So now we're going to move on to our cheesy crescents. So we're going to make the basic dough as we did before, but when we're adding in that final 1 1/4 cup of flour, we are also going to add in 1/3 a cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and then just mix as we did before, let the dough rise. And then I'm going to again divide the dough in half and roll it out into a round that's about 12 inches and about 1/4 inch thick. And we just want to brush the whole thing with a lightly beaten egg. And then we are going to sprinkle 1 cup of shredded Gruyere onto the round, and you just want to lightly press it into that egg so that they stick. And then we are going to cut it into 12 triangles. And starting from the longer end, we are going to roll these up into crescents. And then I'm going to place them on a parchment-lined baking sheet. And again, cover in plastic wrap and let stand for 30 to 45 minutes or until they're nice and puffy. And then we are going to use the rest of the egg that we had before and brush that on top of each of the crescent rolls and then sprinkle them with poppy seeds. You could also use sesame seeds, everything bagel seasoning. You can really get creative with this. And then again, we just want to bake it at 375 degrees for about 25 minutes, switching the sheet pans in between, and then putting them on a wire rack to cool. Now these rolls I would eat on their own. They're so good, but again, they pair really beautifully with a lot of things, especially like a nice roast beef. Super light, flaky, and cheesy. So now let's move on to our herb pull-apart rolls. So again, we are going to make our basic dinner roll dough, but when we're adding in that last little bit of flour, we are also going to add in about 4 tablespoons of fresh herbs here. I did parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, just like the song. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. And then once our dough has risen, we are going to again divide it in half and roll it out into about a 10-inch square. And then I'm going to cut each of those squares into 8 equal strips. And then I have some melted butter, and I am going to brush all of the strips with melted butter and stack up 4 strips and kind of press them together. And then we want to cut that into 6 rolls. And then we just want to place them into a muffin tin, cut side up, and continue on with the rest of our strips. Now again, we want to cover these and let them rise again for another 30 to 45 minutes. And then we are going to brush the rolls with some melted butter and bake them at 375 degrees for 25 minutes, rotating halfway through. And then once they're done and come out of the oven, you want to brush them with a little bit more butter, because why not? The butter at the end is what really makes these rolls nice and soft, because it just absorbs right into the hot bread. I love how fun these are, that you can pull them apart in little layers and add some more butter or honey. I really hope you enjoyed coming along with me and making 3 types of dinner rolls out of one dough. Each of these recipes makes 24 rolls, so it's great when you're having a big party, or even if you're just a smaller family like we are. I like to make them and keep them in a Ziploc in the freezer, and you just pull them out, let them come to room temperature, and then you can pop them in the oven for just a few minutes to get them nice and warm again. And it just really elevates any dinner, whether it's the holidays or not, and makes it a little bit more special. As always, thank you so much for watching to the end, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.